Hi, beautiful reader friends. It's Tiffany with an IE, as you can see. Don't mind the background noise. It's just my family. I live with a lot of people, and it can get really noisy, especially since two of them are tiny humans, and they cry and scream all the time. But anyways, I'm new to BookTube, and I thought I'd do the BookTube Newbie Tag, and because I am awkward and this is my first time, I don't know how to do anything. Anyways, I over-prepared and I wrote everything out. So if you see me looking down, it's just to refer to the questions and my bullets for my answers. But yeah, anyways, let's just get right into it. So the first question is, why did you start this channel? And the obvious answer is that I love books. I love reading, and I've also always wanted to be a writer. So yeah, I see a lot of booktubers who are also writers, but that's not why I wanted to start a booktube channel. But anyways, I just thought it'd be fun. So yeah, and also my parents don't read, being Asian immigrants. Not that it's because they're Asian immigrants or anything, but they just don't read. And I have some friends in my family and circle of friends who do read, but not that many. It's mostly in this book community and some people that I know at the bookstore and in book club that read. So yeah, so I do have some book reader friends, but not as many as I'd like. I'd like to have everyone read books, but anyways. So the next question is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? So I live in San Diego, where Mysterious Galaxy is the most amazing independent bookstore here. We have some other independent bookstores like Warwick's and Blue Stocking Books and just so many to name. But Mysterious Galaxy is the one that I often go to for my books, and they host some amazing book signings, both local authors and authors who aren't local. But because right now we're in quarantine, as you can see, I'm wearing my pajamas. So we're not having any book signings right now, but pre-quarantine, I used to go to a lot of book signings and meet a lot of authors, and I have a really good memory, so I tend to remember most books after I've read them and also years after I've read them. And yeah, so I think that'll be fun. And Mysterious Galaxy is doing virtual events right now, so I'm still in the loop. It's just not the same because quarantine. But yeah. Anyways, I also read a bunch of books that I haven't seen anyone on BookTube talk about, like Joanne Fluke's food murder mystery series, like Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder is the first book in that series. The Assassins of Tamarin, and yeah, just a bunch of those books. But I do also read a lot of mainstream books as well. But it wasn't until BookTube until the YA genre became more prominent and BookTube became really prominent, that I started reading more of what everyone else was reading, especially since I went to a lot of author events, and so I'd find out about all the new books that way, and then I found out about New Book Tuesday, and it's just, my TBR pile has basically never shrunk since then. It's just always growing, even though I read a lot of books every year. Anyways, that was a really long-winded answer. The third question is, what are you most excited for about this new channel? So one of the reasons that I really wanted to join BookTube is to do all the fun tags and challenges such as this one. But yeah, I see Owlcrate and BooksandLala. Shout out to you guys because you guys are some of my favorite people. They do these tags and challenges and stuff, and so do other booktubers. But yeah, I really wanted to do some of them. I did some on my own, I just never filmed myself doing them. But yeah, now I think I might film myself doing some of them. So yeah, and then also talking about my favorite books because no one on BookTube has the same exact reading taste as me. And yeah, so I'm here to talk about my favorite books. Number 4 is, why do you love reading? Well, it's like asking, why do I breathe? But in all honesty, I really love how reading is like an escape from reality, and most readers, when you read, it's like a movie's playing inside of your head. If you can like imagine like what the character is going through, that's it. That's if you're like fully immersed. If you're not fully immersed, then that's a different story. But yeah, I just love the whole reading experience in general, and then being able to connect with others who love reading just as much and being able to talk to them about it, and just like fangirl with them. Yeah, reading is great. So question 5 is, what book or series got you into reading? And I know a lot of people say like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, or one of those like really big popular series, Hunger Games, Divergent. I actually, since I was a 90s kid, I mean, like Harry Potter was starting to be a thing when I was a kid, but I was kind of the black sheep in my family. I'm an only child. So at school, when everyone else liked Harry Potter, in elementary school to be exact, when everyone else liked Harry Potter, I was like, I'm gonna go against the grain. I don't want to be like the others, so I'm not gonna like Harry Potter. So I didn't read Harry Potter for a long time. I watched the movies, although my first time I watched Sorcerer's Stone was not enjoyable. That's a different story. Anyways, it wasn't until 7th grade that I started reading the Harry Potter series for the first time, because one of my really good friends was obsessed with Harry Potter, and I was like, okay, now I have to read it, because basically peer pressure, right? So, I mean, I guess I could say if we go all the way back, the first book I ever read was The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and it's been really important to me all this time, and I've never forgotten it. My mom's also a preschool teacher, so she has a copy of that book, so I do like to read it every now and then and just relive just the nostalgia. And I mean, it's a great book. So what more is there to say about it? But I also remember reading Ella Enchanted and Junie B. Jones. I love Junie B. Jones. And then I also read this sort of obscure book series. It was Tales from Dimwood Forest by Avi. He's written so many things, but the first book is Poppy. And each book is usually about a different character. It's mainly about Poppy and her friends. But Poppy is a deer mouse, and she goes on an adventure after tragedy happens, and she has to battle Mr. O'Kix, who is the owl who is kind of controlling overlord of Dimwood Forest. And it's a lot of fun. I know a lot of people read Redwall, but I'd never heard of that until I met Marie Lou, who is my favorite YA author, but yeah, so this is the Mouse series that I read. Question 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I mean, I've watched so many of their videos that I don't have any like big questions about them as people. I kind of have more questions of like, how do you do all this technical stuff like filming and editing? And since I'm really new to it, I don't know much about it. And also just being used to being in front of a camera, or like I'm recording this on my laptop and it's still weird because I'm awkward and camera shy. Yeah, so just tips on how to act natural, I guess, in front of a camera, and just how to YouTube in general. I would just ask those questions. And then question 7 is, what challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? And like I said, all those questions that basically I would ask my favorite booktubers, but also just getting over this period of being new and learning everything, and also finding time to make these videos, because even though we're in quarantine and we're stuck at home and we have time, I live in a very chaotic and loud household, so I have to really find spots of time where it's relatively more quiet, which might be at night when people are sleeping, or when my baby cousins are napping in the middle of the day. So yeah, so that'll be the hardest, is finding time to film and then actually filming, because I'm an awkward mess. So yeah. And then question 8, when did you start reading? Like I said, the first book I ever read was The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle, which is one of the most well-known picture books of all time. I learned to read that when I was 4 years old, and then after that I just basically never really stopped reading. I had a bit of a dry period in my middle school years, but that was primarily due to my OCD, and I was just struggling to read and write and get my schoolwork done and everything. So yeah, and then high school, it's difficult reading for fun and then also reading for school. So college, I started reading more, especially since I acquired so many books that I hadn't read. So college was like, I need to read this stuff, but then I also have to do my homework as well. So yeah, I just got that never-ending TBR pile. Question 9, where do you read? Usually on my bed. If you'd like to see, it's right there. And yeah, I have a lot of books stacked up right now because I've run out of bookshelf space, so it's kind of a problem. Yeah, and my bed sheets are purple because I got a purple mattress very recently. I've had back pain for like 7 years, so since middle of college, and I'd been looking to purchase a new mattress, and I finally was able to get one because I finally had money for it. And it's honestly like sleeping on a cloud, so it's pretty amazing. And the last question 10, what kind of books do you like to read? So growing up, I was a big reader of fantasy and fairy tales, like anything that wasn't happening in our world, or like urban fantasy like Harry Potter, where it can happen in this world, but he goes somewhere else and there's a magical world within this world. Just something that is not part of the real world mundane stuff. And I also really liked animal stories when I was younger because in elementary school I was bullied a lot, and so I decided I didn't really like people. So I much preferred reading stories about where talking animals were protagonists and basically were the characters and heroes of the stories. And same with cartoons. I preferred watching cartoons over live action stuff, which is very opposite of BooksandLala. But yeah, so yeah, I really liked fantasy. As I grew up, and also with getting into the book community and watching BookTube and everything, and getting so many book recommendations that it's just out of control, I've started reading more out of my comfort zone, and I do read contemporary romance now, but usually YA, and I read some literary fiction sometimes. And yeah, I mean, I read anything if it's considered a good book, and I like most books I read. So yeah, but the only genre that I don't gravitate to as much is historical fiction. So there are some that I do like, but most of the time it's a no from me. I even like some horror, but I've only read one Stephen King novel, which was The Shining, which is one of his most iconic, but yeah, I wasn't really into it. But there's other horror that I really like The Girl from the Well and The Suffering by Rinju Peiko. She's one of my favorites. Yeah, so I've been talking for way too long and going off on tangents, but that's me. Yeah, so this is the BookTube Newbie Tag. I'll see you in my next video, whenever that is. Bye!